What's up, guys? Welcome back to another podcast, man. I have a special guest. I've been trying to get him on. Took me a while, but I'm consistent. So he here, man. Welcome to the podcast.
Man, thank you for having me on.
Yes, sir, man. So tell the people a little bit about you.
Man, I'm Motivational here. I always say at the core, I'm just a young man from a small town in Texas,
Come on.
New Caney, Texas, with a pen in his hand and a dream. And so, we're here, and just at the core of me, I'm just a writer.
Okay.
At the core, I'm a writer, and so everything, the speaking and the consulting and the curriculum work and all of that is spent off the fact that, man, I'm just a guy with a pen and a pad, writing books and writing material that's going to help people live better lives.
Man, that's key though. I like that right there. Writing material that's going to help people live better lives. So, a couple of things I want to ask you though is, what's the difference between a motivational speaker and a life coach?
So a motivational speaker is someone you come in to bring a shot in the arm, a spark.
Okay,
maybe your company is down a little bit. Maybe morale is not good. Maybe there's some team building that needs to happen, and perhaps there's there's been a little bit of a lull, and so you bring a motivational speaker in to bring people's spirits up and try to increase productivity. A life coach or someone who's going to be a coach is you're getting deep.
Gotcha.
Right? You're what I like to call you're putting together the what's good here process, and you're unpacking life, because because when you start looking at those types of things, you have to look at you're not just looking to put a Band-Aid on something.
Come on.
You might need to get surgery.
Come on.
So you may need to get into the core.
You gotta make sure you get something done.
You might have to go back to, hey, when you were 8 years old, what affected you to make you be the way you are? Because I do believe that we're all 8-year-olds in grown people's bodies, because
That's
I think
true.
that developmental age between about 8 and 12 really shapes a lot of who we are from a familial standpoint, professional, and from a mental and spiritual aspect.
So how do you start to prepare for your motivational, your motivational speaking? Because I was looking, I'm like, man, you might be speaking at a church, you might be speaking at a school. Like, how are you preparing for these events?
Well, we start with a pre-event questionnaire, and we ask them, hey, what are you looking for? What's your budget? How much time do we have? What are we going to do in that standpoint? But also, we have a conversation with the one who are booking us and say, okay, like what's the demographic of the audience?
Okay.
What's the situation? I mean, it's just like when you go to the doctor's office and they diagnose you and say, hey, do you have a headache, or is your spleen about to fall out?
Come on.
There's a difference.
Yes.
And so we unpack a lot of the things that are going on, and you really want to know, like, what is the desired outcome?
Yes, that's the key.
Because some people just want the shot in the arm, and they don't want really the solution. They just want to just feel good in the moment. And obviously, we like to look at the situation. And, for me, I like to look, not only I have the conversation, I read over the pre-event questionnaire, and then I say, okay, here's the desired outcomes. And it's all right, how does what I do connect with them? Because you can connect with anyone, but you have to find out where their pain point is.
Ooh,
you
come on.
can't talk to everyone the same way.
Come on.
So for, in the church, you probably talking about the one I did with St. Paul last week. And, we're talking about the correlation between physical health and mental health. And I was like, okay, I'm in a church, but we are going to have conversations that we don't have in church because we've stepped away from speaking truth in church for the longest time.
That's crazy.
We may not have to go down that path, but the bottom line is that the good book is put on the shelf, or it's mismanaged from some areas, from the standpoint of some of the cultural things we see going on now. And so we like to make sure and understand what the audience needs, and sometimes it just has to be some hard truths.
Yeah, and I think people not understanding the hard truths. Because I believe in, like, people are like in denial. Like, a lot of people, it's like they're constantly telling themselves, like, well, I'm okay, when really they not okay. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's because we have this society that wants you got the whatever the kids call the YOLO. You do what you want, and life in reality doesn't work that way.
Come on.
Because what's going on now is there's this whole happy movement. Do what makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Do what your passion tells
Come
you
on.
to. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. but there's going to come a period where life is not going to be so awesome. Right. And so I like to say, I always give the Preevent preface. I'm like, I'm going to say a word that's not that you shouldn't use, but like, there's got to be a period of time when life may suck a little bit.
Ooh, come on.
It may, because to get to the dream you want, we got to earn. So you may have to go do that third shift at Best Buy to be able to fuel the studio, the podcast, the book, the things you want to do may take you doing something else to be able to get to that point. So that period is not going to be happy. It's going to be fulfilling.
Yes.
But it will not be happy.
I like that.
And so we're going into that fleeting emotion of happy, sad, and those types of things, but we need to be striving for fulfillment. Fulfillment is where, you're honoring something bigger than yourself. You're serving at a greater clip. And you're doing the things that are needed and necessary to live a greater life, but also bring some wholeness to you and saying, I'm giving of myself to be able to do something that has nothing to do with me other than I'm serving a purpose greater than me.
And I tell people all the time, I said, my word is HOPE, which is hope, which the acronym is help other people excel. The minute you can give people hope, you give them that shot, you can help them excel. I think that's when your success comes. How long you been speaking?
So I've been I wrote my first book in 2011. So that would be probably 12, 13 years. That was when I came into speaking, and lo and behold, I started speaking in the spiritual sense, because my mentor was like, hey, why don't you break down this affirmation? And then I just did it as a one-off.
I got you.
And then the people were just like, hey, so when is this guy coming back? And I was like, so I don't do this. I was asked to come up here from someone to help out. And it was like, he's like, they want you. And so I started speaking where I would open up with the first 7 minutes of the spiritual experience. And so that was my segment. And then from there, they say, hey, if you want to sell a book, you should go speak. And I remember the first client I had was coach over at Reagan, which is now called Heights High School.
Okay.
He bought 80 copies of my book, and I was like, I'll come speak if you do that. And so I went over there, man. I was all over the place. I'm just, I'm basically acting like I'm in a locker room. I had no flow.
Experience,
I'm just a dude with a note card trying to, work through this thing. But obviously over time, I've hired people who, brought me to a place to where, there's more control. There's different things of that nature. And so I'm grateful for, those opportunities that led to more opportunities to, lead me to a place like where I'm at right now.
So people might want to ask this question though, like, how do you gauge the audience? So sometimes you might be looking at the faces. You might be, what are you, some people they're looking all serious. You got some people that's laughing, some people that's like, let me try to figure this man out. Like, how do you deal with like those different emotions?
So when it comes to the setup, when I'm looking at a crowd, obviously some crowds are, 50 to 75, and some of them are hundreds or even thousands.
Yes.
You find, I always say I look for two.
Okay.
I look for the person who has the fixed smile, like they're just all in no matter what I say.
Yeah.
And I look for the one who's like, I know he's unpacking everything I say, or she's looking over just like, I don't really know that and so I look for both of them, because when you first get into speaking and in anything you do, you want everyone to get it. And then you'll get disappointed very quickly when you realize some people are just like, it don't matter what you say.
That's true.
It's not happening. However, when you're looking out into the audience, I'm finding that point person, because obviously you want to make sure and hit all points of the room. And so you need your point person. Here's your bracket person over here. Here's your end person over here. And somewhere in between, you look for that person, and you're talking to them, but you're not talking to them. Like you're looking and saying, I know that you're going through something right now. I don't know what it is. And it's like, and that person's just like, oh, is he?
He's talking to me?
And I am. Because you need something to bring you in. And,
that's true.
And you want to find the person who looks like they're not into it.
Ooh, come on.
You want to find the person who looks like they're not into it, because that's the person you need to overcome the fear of your message not getting through.
I got you.
And so you may get through to them, you may not. It really doesn't even matter, because the bottom line is everybody's not going to get it. In fact, most won't. I mean, we can go back, biblically or whatever.
Yes, sir.
I know everyone says, everyone's a winner. No, you're not. That's not how this works.
Come on.
Some people do not want to win, which is a sad state of affairs. But as they say, the poor will always be amongst us.
Yeah, that's true. So tell me a little bit about this book. You got it on you? Oh, you left it?
I have my book on. It's obviously in the
okay.
in the other room, but it's the newest book is Now What? 5 Steps to Get Up and Create the Most of Life. It was written in the middle of 2020. Maybe some of you are around. Maybe a few things happened during that time, and I was on Grand Parkway.
All right.
I was on a tollway. For those of you outside the state of Texas, you have tollways in your city or in your state, I'm sure.
Come on.
And I just had enough. I was done with the screaming. I was done with the something's owed to me. I was done with the, I don't like your tie, so I don't like you. I was done with the social and cultural and spiritual battles that were going on. I was like, enough with this.
Come on.
And so I wrote the blueprint. I wrote the outline on Grand Parkway in the middle of listening to a podcast. And so I was just over it. And so I wanted to be able to put together something to where you're excuse proof for what's going on in your life.
Say that again.
To where you're excuse proof.
Come on.
Right? Because I don't really care where you came from.
Come on.
I don't. I love you.
Come on.
But I don't care where you came from.
I got you.
Because I always use the example. Let's just say you have a 7-year-old.
Okay.
His mom's on crack and his dad's in jail. That's not his fault.
No.
But he has to deal with it.
That's true.
That's his problem. He didn't cause that. It's not like adults, like we're we have all the self-inflicted wounds in the world.
Yes.
But a kid
is
getting put into a situation that he or she did not cause.
Come on.
But you have to look in the mirror and say, all right, this is a big pile of junk I'm dealing with.
Come on.
So what do we do to help that person? Obviously, if a 7-year-old, they gotta kind of go through some other things, and then there'll come a time when you bring them to that part. But let's just say that 7-year-old who's now 17.
Okay.
10 years later. You still got the scars.
That's
and
true.
so, obviously, typically, if we're looking at the data, will show that young man or young lady is probably, in disciplinary issues, probably not doing well in school.
That's true.
Unless they got, taken into a good foster home with, someone who's literally going to bring them into a place where they're loved
and nurturing them, and
correct. And they are brought up in a righteous way to be able to do what needs to be done to where there's order. Because see, people think that having, being able to do what you want was ideal. And see, that's the problem we're at right now. The bottom line is, it's like, no, kids actually want to be disciplined.
Yes.
They want, as the kids will say, they want to smoke.
Oh, they say, I don't want my kids. Just say it.
I teach all the way from K through 5. I mean, obviously my demographic is young adults, teenagers or whatever. But with one of my nonprofits, the Boys and Girls Club, I work with kindergartners.
Ooh, come on.
So I get the 5-year-old up to about 10 in that sector or whatever. And it took a lot for me because they were like, hey, if you want to do this, you got to go down to this level. And I'm just like, I don't work with this level. But I do now, because I was like, all right, if I can teach a 5-year-old, I can teach anyone.
Yes.
And so they know when Mr. Vital walks into the room, again, I don't care about your feelings.
Come on.
Because I want you to get it.
I'm here to help you.
So when a young person comes in and they start getting on I run this, I'm like, oh, okay. You're there's always one or two who think they want to, challenge. And it's just like, first of all, I'm not taking any orders from anyone from the teens on down. Okay. You know what? If you are to the point where you're dressing yourself and you're earning your own money, you can tell me nothing.
Come on.
Okay. And so the order and structure is needed. And so I wanted to write a book where it's like, okay, maybe you've lived a wayward life up to this point, but it's time to rein all of that in. And so we focus obviously on the 5 keys: reflection, decision, planning, acting, and seeking. And so that's the 5 steps to get into it. And obviously if somewhere during the show we want to break that down a little bit more, we can. Okay. But that's the starting point to the idea that no one owes you anything.
That's facts.
No one. Yes, for those in the back, no one owes you anything.
Come on.
I don't care how bad your life was. I don't care if you saw your parents get eliminated right in front of you. No one owes you anything.
What about those parents? What about those parents that say, oh, my kid owe me now? No, they get older and they say, my kid owe me now.
That is degrading, first of all. That's like, how dare you go there with it?
Mm.
Like, because that's the idea. Like, what do you think they owe you? I mean, and see, that's that whole entitlement.
Yeah.
That's the it's the opposite of humility. It's not, it's not understanding the delayed gratification, because if you rear your children correctly,
Come on.
they will absolutely come back and take care of you. Like my mother's 71 years old. She's retired. She's at the house. She calls her son. She has 3 sons and a daughter.
Come on.
And it's like, hey, she just calls and just wants to just talk about
Check on her.
random
Yes,
things.
yes.
Like if anyone knows, like my mother and I have the most 28-second conversations than anybody in America.
Come
Right?
on.
It's like, hey, did you call me? No. Oh, okay. Well, I'm going out to Kroger's later, and I'm going to go stop by the dollar store to get
Come
some
on.
things. I'm like, all right, Mom, I'm glad. Be careful of this and that. And we're done.
Come on.
Like, and we do that multiple times throughout the week. And I know what that is now. At the time, I was like, in college, I didn't know what that meant. But now it's just like, I want to know my sons are still breathing.
Come on.
That's it. She knows I didn't call her.
Come on.
But it doesn't matter.
She
She wants the connection.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it's like, did you call me? No. Knowing I didn't call you. But it's like, that's a sign that like, hey, I miss you. I love you. And I want to make sure that you're alive. And
that's good.
And that's what's going on there.
That's real good though, because people always ask the question too, because I'm working on my second book. This is my first one. I'm working on my second book, and people say, man, like, how do you get in this writing mode? Are you writing for your experiences, or are you writing to just write? Because a lot of people always ask me, like, man, how you wrote your first book? So do you start to write when you start to think of something, or you just write through your experience?
Well, that's an interesting question. Because I write so much.
Okay.
Like I always jokingly say I have at least 4 unpublished books that are sitting right there in my office right now. I wrote a devotional about 8 years ago where for every day of your life, you have a new affirmation and a scripture to read every day.
Come on.
And still unpublished. I know there's one of my people out there is like, I told you. Hey, I'm just being honest. I'm transparent here. I don't shy away from that.
Come on.
Really it's more so about a story to tell. And it's like, okay, you have to think about, are you writing this just for your own satisfaction? Or are you trying to share this with somebody else? Because if you just want to just get, just want to just tell your story to tell your story, well, then, you can do that.
Yeah.
But if you want to tie it to something larger and share something with others, then, obviously get with someone, the main thing I would tell anyone who goes into writing is get the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Get the hardest editor you can find. I'm talking the one
that do punctuation and everything.
For my old school people, you want master shredder level editors, like who is going to literally tear your book up to where you walk away and say, am I even a writer at this point in time? My editor's been the woman who works for me has been she's been doing it for me for the past 2 years.
Okay.
And she is surgical. I'm talking like I sent a chapter to her and I was like, oh, this is the money chapter right here. Man, she sent that thing back with I'm talking like 4 or 5 pages. Wow. I'm talking thousands of words gone. Because I think I started off with 42,600 plus words.
Gotcha.
When she was done, it was down to like 36.
Ooh.
I'm talking like whole sections. Like this whole story is nonsense. Get it out of here. I'm like, how dare you tell me that this story is not?
But that's good though.
But you need someone, because obviously if she has 7 bestsellers,
I need to be listening.
And I am working on my first.
Come on.
Then you should listen to that, which obviously, leads into another part of this. Is like, get the yes people out of your life.
Ooh, come on.
Get the yes people out of your life. If every time you do something, you got that person who's just like, this is great, this is awesome, get them out of there. Get them off extend them. Put them as a 6th man or something, but they don't need to be in the starting lineup anymore. They don't need to be in your inner circle. You need people who will look at you and say, you know what? You are out of line right now with this. This is not working to your advantage.
Come on.
And you need to do better. Like you need that type of person, because so many people just like, and you'll see it all the time, even with some of the celebrity class, They love when the social media,
Come on.
adoration happens. The second they have some detractors, it's like, oh, mental health, I'm out of here. I don't want to deal with this.
Come
I'm not telling, I'm telling the truth. Because you can always see it. It's like you dealt with all the publicity, you
Come
dealt
on.
with all the advertisement,
Come
you dealt
on.
with all the talk shows.
Come
And
on.
the second somebody was just like, yeah, you kind of stink it up now. It's like, oh, I'm out. Mental health. I'm not feeling.
So people don't like constructive criticism. I think that's what it really.
People don't like any criticism. Constructive is actually one that helps you. I mean,
yes.
But the bottom line is when you get to a certain point, or even if you're not at a certain point, you're going to get criticism of all kinds. I mean, sometimes the criticism is not constructive. Some of it's just like, you're terrible. That's not constructive. Sometimes that can just be like, that person may not like you, have a problem with you. But you know what? You take it all in. It's the gumbo. It's a gumbo recipe, man.
That's true.
We're all one big pot of gumbo. A mixed bag of just craziness. We don't even know all the ingredients in gumbo. I've been asking my sister for years, like, hey, what's all in this stuff? But the finished product is what? Pretty good.
It's good.
So you need that in your life.
So when you started from, you said 2010, 2011?
Yes, that's when Waking the Baller Within was written.
Okay, so when you started then to where you at now, question is, what's the difference when it comes to speaking? Like, what's the difference you have seen from when you started to now?
Oh man, it's interesting you say that, because I was just talking to one of my mentors the other day, and I was like, tell me what you thought, because the church event was on a Facebook Live. And,
okay.
He wasn't able to make it, but he was watching, and I was like, hey man, and I asked my road manager, so I was like, do you see a difference? And they were just like, yeah. It's a vast difference. It's a vast difference from even when in 2017 when we were in Africa doing the seminar out there. It's like now, and I think that's where I say that all that happened with the 2020.
Come on.
The shutdowns, the politics, spirituality, all that stuff. I think it was one of the biggest blessings of all time. Man, for me.
People had to stop and think.
The mask and all the talk and all this stuff. Because what it did was I realized, see, I have obviously multiple things that I do. Obviously, I serve at my church. I'm a consultant over here. I write curriculum over here. I do some coaching over here. And I'm but the side of me that's on Sundays and Wednesdays where, obviously the same me is showing up elsewhere, but you're always told, hey, keep your religion, keep your Christianity, keep that over there, but don't bring it into the school. Don't bring it into these companies. Don't bring it over there. And what 2020 did for me was I was like, the mask is off of everything in society, because what it let me know is that the corruption going on in schools, the corruption going on in media, how the medical profession has been hijacked. All these different institutions of America had been hijacked with these nefarious forces. And I was like, hold on. They're not even hiding the ball anymore.
Nah, they're showing it to you.
And so I was like, you know what? Until you tell me not to, I'm bringing, it's like there's companies bring me in and say, hey, we need help from a disciplinary aspect. All right. I'm starting with honor your father and mother.
Come on.
Proverbs. Okay? I'm going there.
I'm going there.
Okay. And until you have a better solution, I'm going to the source. And so the difference is now is like, I'm so much more unapologetic. And even with sitting with you right now, like people say, why do you have so much energy? Because I think the gumbo mixture of the pain, of the challenges, of the man, you lost tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars making these mistakes from, the abuse, mental and physical, maybe the pains from, my family situation coming up, and the fact that like, okay, I've achieved some things, but it's like, what am I holding back now?
Come on.
And so now it's like, I look over and I'm just like, enough. You come after the children now. Okay. You want to awaken somebody? You awaken me. Okay. You come after us as adults, but you go after the kids. Okay. Game on now.
Come on.
So I'm in the schools now, like looking at them saying, you know what? I love you enough to tell you that this path that you're on is not going to work. Okay. So there is a difference between the speaker from 2012 to the speaker today. The speaker today doesn't care as much about your feelings, doesn't care much about toes that are being stepped on. Like the veil is off, the mask is off, and it's like I'm looking at people and saying, hey, if you like I told them at the talk recently, I said, you don't want to get to the point with your health where you're going in and you hear the or else talk. The or else talk. And you wonder what the or else talk. The or else talk is that you go into the doctor and says, you clean your diet, your exercise, and your health up, or else. And what the or else is, you can go ahead and use your imagination what that is. But I can tell you right now, it's extremely costly, and it's going to be a lot of sad people with that obituary if you don't get your life together. And so now I don't have a problem looking at someone and saying, if you don't do this, there's an alternative, and it's not awesome. Hey. And so I'm not as PC as I used to be. I'm not as like, oh, well, like, I need to worry about this young man's feelings. He's been through so much. Yes. And I'm going to take you through this gauntlet right here, because this right here is going to take you to a place that's going to be much more deeper
all day
than what you've been going through. You think that trial is over there? Try not doing this and see where it ends up, right? You haven't dealt with anything yet.
I like that.
But I want to be able to give them enough game to where they're like, man, like, I'm upset with this dude, but man, was he right?
The thing is, and I tell people, whatever you plugged in, get you your source. So when you speak and I hear you're plugging into them, giving them the power that they need. Because sometimes they have these young men, these young women, they have like, they be low on energy because their environments. But when you speak to them, you plugging into them, giving them that lift that they need. And I think people are really, they don't understand how important you are to the society. I tell people all the time, listen, y'all gonna miss me because I'm a gift today. You know what I'm saying? I'm a gift. You know what I'm saying? So every day I get up, I aspire to motivate somebody, to impact somebody with your life. So let's talk a little bit about legacy. So I ask this question often. What do you tell, if you could go back and tell your 13-year-old self so that today your life look different?
Ooh. There's a number of things, but I think the one thing that I would probably tell my 13-year-old self is to value the idea of family. Be committed lean into loving and understanding your family better.
I like that.
And not trying to figure things out on your own. I share this a lot with young men as well. I'm like, hey man, like, patch things up with your dad.
Come on.
Patch things up with your mom. Forgive them both, right? They did the best they could with the knowledge they had.
Ooh,
they did the best they could with the knowledge they had. It may not have turned out as well as, especially with dad, like, because dad has the weight of the world on him. He has to build, he has to create, and there's no mulligan for him. There's no safety net. There's no, there's no benefit of the doubt when it comes to guys building.
I mean, right? But me and my wife had this discussion. Is it more pressure on the men or more pressure on the women? We had this discussion. She was like, well, it just depends on the situation. No. I say, in society, if me and you was to lose our house, do they go to you and say, what happened? They say, hey, Lloyd, what happened? They're going to really come to me as the man, not the woman. When it comes to, like, because we supposed to be the protector and the provider.
Well, society is set up mainly so that women do not fully fall and fail.
Okay.
And I say that from the standpoint, I was like, okay, I'll use a loose example. And a host recently shared this with me. I was like, so when you see a homeless man on the side of the road, it's background noise. It's like, oh, another one. Okay, whatever. You see a homeless woman on the side of the road and you start thinking like, oh my goodness, what happened to her? Because that means all the levers of the lifeboat, the life raft, the Air Force, the National Guard, like she exhausted all sorts of things, because the last thing you want to see is homeless. That's when they say you can tell society's going down, like when there's homeless women on the side of the road, because there's a lot of safety nets, there's a lot of shelters. Think about it. If something goes wrong with a lady and it involves someone else, what's the first thing they ask? What did he do?
Yeah, what did he do?
Even though like they never ask if you contributed anything to this. The first thing it's like there's a situation going on.
Come on.
I mean, even if it's like you're the one who did something wrong, like let's just say there's some messing around going on from the lady's standpoint.
Yes.
And it breaks the family up.
Mm.
And it's like, okay, you were wrong for stepping out on your situation. But what were their homegirls asking? Well, what did he do to make you want to do that?
That's true.
Wait, what? Hold on. So wait a minute. So she stepped out, and the first thing you say is, well, what did Carl do? Like that's our default setting.
That's true.
And so, yes, obviously the burden of proof is on men, but you know what? We gladly take that on. That's why when you come after men, a lot of times we just like, man, we've been the target since we were like 8 years old. Like, bring it on. So there's an accountability factor that's just different for us. Think about it. You want to go all the way back to the garden, right? Think about it. Adam and Eve. Who did God call? God called on Adam.
Yeah.
Hey, where are you? I'm looking for you. I'm hiding. I'm naked. I'm afraid. He's like, who told you were naked? Like, who gave you the idea that like something was? Did you do what I told you not to do? Did you eat of the tree I asked you not to eat from? And it's like, and even though it was Eve who gave him the apple, God was like, hey, I called on you to lead to take care of this. And obviously later on he kind of told Eve a few things, but his smoke was for Adam.
Yes.
As the leader.
Because he gave him the authority.
The authority. Hey, this is what we not gonna do. And you were wooed into doing this. I told you to stay stoic and pragmatic and say no.
Come on.
But that's where it is. So yes, the burden is on us, but you know what? We're built for this, or at least we used to be built for this. That's a whole other conversation for another day.
Another day. Is this society changing?
I mean, there's a chicken and egg situation that's going on. That this podcast can go on for a week.
Yeah,
if we unload those type of things. But the bottom line is that we do need to take our rightful place. But I mean, the roles of life are just out of order right now, right? They're saying that you're more masculine if you act more feminine, and they're telling the ladies you don't need the man aspect of it. You go get your own bag. You strong, independent, and whatever those other lies they're telling.
Then we see commercials. The commercials just selling us
where they're just castrating men, making men look as weak as possible. It's like, and you're sitting there like, I don't know no dude like this. What are we doing here? But it's social engineering because it's not for us.
Yes.
It's for your 7-year-old son.
That you better grab.
It's for your 13-year-old to say, being not strong, being not competitive. You don't need to compete. And
that's another thing.
Yes.
Because we grew up competing. Everybody didn't get a trophy. Everybody did not get a trophy. And that made me better. If I didn't get a trophy, I'm coming back harder next year. But everybody, it's an 8th place trophy, but here you go. Nah. So look, so in the next 3 to 7 years, where you see yourself when it comes to speaking, books, like what's your whole like premise of what you see?
So 3 to 7 years from now, I'll be the bestseller of at least 2 books.
Okay.
I've been spoken in probably 15 countries by then.
I love it.
I'm looking for my net worth to be probably in the kind of what they call middle class millionaire status. I think they range that from like 5 to about 9 to 12, somewhere in there. So that's where I want to be. But the greatest thing that I want to be at that point in time, from a philanthropy standpoint, my goal is to donate $1 million. Not earn $1 million, but to donate.
I mean, God he gotta provide me 10. Come on, God, I hear you.
Well, I mean, if I'm pouring out $1 million,
come on,
then obviously I'm going to be blessed. And my cup is going to run over. But the reason why my goals are lofty is because I shifted my mindset, and hopefully somebody will take this.
Come on,
is that stop being concerned about what can I get and ask this question: whom can I serve?
Come on.
When you shift from me to the service industry, service side of things, like the way you earn more is say, what can I provide to society that is going to serve the greatest number of people?
Come on.
At the most efficient way possible.
That's all facts.
Where are you giving back? Do you have a community around you? I mean, I know some people like they're like, I ain't been to church in forever. And I'm not saying church needs to be the place, even though church should and very well is a very resourceful place.
Yes.
Because not only can people pour into you, but it gives you the opportunity to believe and know that it's not about you.
Ooh, come on.
You can serve with others. And when you have that moment, and see, this is why I'm going down a path that's going to ruffle some feathers. This is why I don't like entitlements. And you say, which ones? All of them.
America's full of them.
You know, whether you're talking about the welfare, whether you're talking about, free this, free that. There's nothing free. First of all, somebody's paying for it. And two of the guys sitting on this panel right here are paying for a lot. I always say, man, I've sent a lot of kids to college.
Come on.
And I'm okay with that. But I want it to be amongst us.
Ooh, come on.
I want the philanthropy to be amongst communities.
Come on.
Not the inefficient daddy government, okay? Because we see how wasteful that institution is.
Yes, all day.
Whereas it's like, what if the tax rate was cut down a little bit?
Yeah.
And you kept more money in your pocket. I think that you would invest that into the business.
And to others.
You would tithe, give more to your church and community centers, which will do what? Create more jobs, which will mean more money circulating throughout the community.
Yes, sir.
Which means that if there's homeless people, if there's people who are struggling and things of that nature, there's a connection. So when little Bobby shows up and it's like, all right, I'm going to pay for your football, but hey, I want you to come see me, come through to the Wednesday night service at church, come through and let's have lunch once a week. There's a connection. It's not some nameless, faceless check coming from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Come on.
Right? It's coming from a human being. And so there's an accountability factor where I'm looking over at you and saying, I don't want to let Lloyd down because Lloyd is invested in me. But when it comes from the government, what does it cause? More bad behavior, more of what created the idea of what you're paying for. And we're in this rat race of all the stuff that doesn't work. Yes, when people say, well, what can you do to fix the situation? First, cut entitlements in half immediately.
Come on.
And I guarantee you a lot of things will happen. You know what will probably happen? Shocker. Marriage rates will probably go up. Man, you know what? I'm going to be more careful with the way I operate with my sexual desires. Okay? I'm going to stay true to the fact of being more selective and not choosing what looks good, but what is more beneficial long term.
Talk about it. Yes, sir.
And so all of these things will come from that. So 3 to 7 years, I want the idea of more community. More community. Now, people say, well, it's because it is rampant right now.
It is. And
I'm sorry, a little bit of Old Testament is going to have to happen. Some people, we're going to lose some soldiers along the way.
You're going to lose them.
We're going to lose a few soldiers. In fact, quite a few, because our marriage, divorce, single motherhood rate, it's pretty astounding right now. Okay. It is very deep. And I love Jaquan and some of you other guys out there, but some of you are going to have to learn the hard way how to get yourself out of these here trenches. Okay? Because you have not been taught properly. And I know that because I can tell the way you walk, the way you dress, the way you look, the way you interact with people. Those are not advantageous things. The pants, the dress, the excessive piercings and tattoos, the fact that your body count is already through the roof and you're not even 15 yet. I don't want to go there. But we need to go there. Okay? These are things that we need to start correcting, but it's going to be a painful process. But it needs to happen because it's out of control. And hey, at the end of the day, reality, biology, and the power of God is always going to win. Now, to get there, we're going to have some more scars. We are in the midst of a very, very interesting next year and a half. I've been telling people a lot of times, like, hey, whatever your budget is, cut it in half, control your spending. Because you think this inflation pain is what it is now. Wait for it. We haven't even hit the middle of the train yet for the amount of money that was blown into it. Once again, more entitlements. Like that, there's nothing free. That check is going to come due because we've had enough of them bounce.
Hey.
You can't print money. Money is created.
It's created.
It's not printed. It's not given. That all them stimulus checks that you all were lying for,
they get their money back.
Oh yes, and they're getting it back in the fact of one egg is $12. Okay, so
they getting it back.
The bird, the chicken, it's $28.50 for one. I'm exaggerating, but but we're not far from that.
Nah, I'm telling you.
So that's where I see the growth coming in me, to be able to really kind of stand and take those arrows from the standpoint that we're saying uncomfortable things, because uncomfortable things need to be happening, because all the way back to the 60s, we've always kind of stayed away from certain comments. Don't talk to her like that. You don't know what she's been through. I don't care. Because somebody needs to tell her. And it's like, you're 32 years old now. If you'd have got told this when you were 15, we probably would be in a better place.
Yes.
Just saying.
Your decisions, that's why I try to tell people too, your decision that you're making today is what's going to promise your tomorrow. We're making too many bad decisions. And a lot of people are like locked in. They're like, man, well, it's okay. I'm like, stop having this okay mentality. Like, everything ain't okay. It's really not. So we got a tombstone about this big. Mm-hmm. It's about this tall. I need you to leave 3 things in there. 3 things so people can remember you by. Once you pass away, we're going to dig it up 1,000 years later. What's going to be in there?
What's going to be in the tombstone, or what's going to be written on the tombstone?
Written or in, so people, now let me use myself. Me personally, I'm going to put a letter in there. I'm going to try to put, now I don't know how video is going to go, but I'm going to try to put where they can see videos of me, the way I used to think and thought. And then I'm going to have a letter. I'm also going to have a picture of my family. But what would you put in there?
Ooh. Honestly, in my inside the tomb, I want nothing in there.
Okay.
Just me. The seeds that I've planted will already be populated throughout the earth through your medium, through your books.
Yes.
Like your words will live on, your legacy will live on. And even outside your family, who'd you pour into?
Yes.
Like who's like the result of whom you poured into. So I hope to have millions, because I one of my colleagues mentioned something recently, and he said, hey, are you willing to put in the work to change the tide of the culture, even if you're not going to be alive to see it come to fruition? And I thought about it, and I said, you know what? Yeah. Because like when I get in front of my teenagers, especially my fellas, I say, I want you all to be 7 to 10 times greater than I can ever become.
Come on, man.
And when you live from that standpoint, and I was like, I plan on being pretty successful. I just threw some numbers out there. So
hey.
I want you all to supersede me. Like that would mean more to me than anything, for you to go out and I want one of you all to find the blueprint of whatever I'm creating, and double down on the efforts I'm doing. Can I create, 7, young VTOLs, maybe without all the receipts, where I can, maybe cut down on a few of the scars. I know you still have to go through your scars, but at the same time, where I can give you something to where you take it and run with it.
Yes.
Writing it down on the plain tablets, as the word says. And I want to be able to create, an army of young, capable, strong men to go out there and fight these battles that are going on right now. And so I would probably, if it was something written on there, just say, leader, visionary.
Come on.
And writer.
The reason why I asked you that, because, I think people forget legacy is greater than currency. So we can make all the money that we want, but until we impact, like one of my biggest goals is to help 100 people become millionaires with their own brand. That's one of my goals.
That's good. That's good.
You know what I'm saying? So as I'm building out my brand, and I have a academy coming up soon, I'm building different digital products already online. I want to see other people be successful, because what I learned is people looking for mentors. And the problem is, I tell people, having a mentor is like getting in your car right now, and I'm saying, hey man, my cousin lives in Dallas, and his address is 5949 Longstreet Street, and you start driving right now. When you get to Dallas, if you don't got no GPS, you got to stop at the store, and ask somebody that might not know nothing. Then you got to go to another store, ask somebody that might not know nothing. So without having that GPS, which is a mentor, that GPS tells you how long it'll take you to get there, tell you how to take the shortest route, and it tell you have to pay some tolls. So you need a GPS in your life. You need that mentor in your life so he can tell you how to get there, how long it's going to take you, and you need that guidance. It kills a lot of your pains. You don't have to go through it because he already blazed the trail. The problem is people trying to blaze trails that not meant to be blazed already. Run the play. So I tell people, are you a trailblazer or are you a playmaker? Most people need to be a playmaker. The trailblazers, they not gonna, a lot of trailblazers, you can't go through the pain. You'll quit. People quit easily though.
I like where you're going. I like where you're going with that when you had a goal of helping 100 people to earn $1 million through branding.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for those of you listening out there, that's how you put goals together. You make them specific,
yes.
Right? You and obviously there's more specifics. You can say, in what amount of time or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's a life goal, then like you have something to measure.
Yes.
Whether it's weight loss, whether it's money,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's your family situation or any of those things. And I like where you say, the mentor is sort of your GPS.
Mm-hmm.
I like that because you're talking about community again,
yes.
which we've been encouraged to be in these silos and just, live one day, live your best life and sit around and paint and do what with it, Right.
Facts.
And so, and I like where you're going. And I, if I may add to that just a little bit,
come on,
is I encourage, you need a minimum. And I'm talking about from the rest of your life, from the time you're basically 13 all the way to your death. You need a solid minimum of 3 people around you.
Come on.
Right? You need the mentor.
Mm-hmm.
You need the mentor, the person who is sort of your all encompassing. They know a little bit about, they know a lot about a little bit or a little bit about a lot. They're just very wise.
Gotcha.
And they're pretty close to they're pretty close, they're older than you. They've seen some things and they've accomplished some things. So they need to be successful.
Come on.
You don't pick your dusty homeboy from the barbershop, and you don't pick your girl who you meet for, at the hooker bar. Okay. You don't pick her. You pick somebody who's a trailblazer, somebody who's righteous, somebody who has a moral barometer about themselves. Okay. So you need that person. Then you also need what I like to call that elder statesman, that patriarch, that grandfather type, the one who's got that lifelong wisdom, probably retired, but has done well for himself, living off the fruits of his labor. You want that person that woman who can be that person for you, that old school wisdom where they just know.
Come on.
And that kind of person really is to keep you kind of held together from a morality standpoint.
Oh, come on.
So who can tell you like, hey, this isn't illegal, but this isn't right.
Come on.
You need that person in your life. And then you need what I like to call the expert. The person, whatever industry you're going through, maybe you're going into to HVAC work, you're going into welding, you want to be an auto mechanic. Who's the best auto mechanic in my area? And how can I go be an apprentice for them?
And be willing to pay, because when you pay attention.
Then there's that, yes. But you lean into this person, and this person becomes sort of the person who brings you along as an apprentice. And you also need someone in your life who, whether it's a minister, a pastor, a deacon, someone who's just very strong in faith,
spiritual,
someone who can pray for you when you're going through this. And I know we've taken that out of the game so much because no one wants to be in church because church is corrupted. I understand, but find you a church where they're spirit filled and Bible based. There's some out there, reach out to one of us. We can point you in the direction of where you need to go and go and be poured into, to go to a place where there's a community of people around. So that when things do happen, you're not looking to the government to pay for your groceries, right? You're going to the place where you're just like, hey, something just happened at the house and we need some help or whatever, to where you have an abundance of groceries. We had that experience happen at my church recently. Someone had gone through something and it was like detrimental. Man, we had about 40, 50 people just lining up with groceries, with sleeping bags, with pillows, with I'm talking like restoring a whole house within 4 hours, man. That's what I'm talking about.
I love that.
And you people are out here trying to like, I don't want to be in church. Because you don't want to humble yourself, right? You don't want to put yourself in a position where you're vulnerable, right? You know, I walk into the church sometimes and I'm just like, look, man, my virtue is out. I'm tapped. And, you know, I can go in there and they're strong. And especially for you fellas out there, get some strong, righteous family men around you.
Come on.
Right? I walk through the church and I'm studying these men. Men with family of 4, a family of 3, a family of 2. You know, just strong men who have been doing this. Men who got kids in college, some who have some in elementary school. And I'm watching all of them because I'm like, you know what? This is a life I want to have at some point. So I need to study from the best. These are men who hold it down. These are men who are obviously doing well for themselves. Could be have a family of 6. Your resources have to be in a certain place. And I'm watching these things, right? And so I'm letting them pray for and with me.
Yes, sir.
So that they can bring me to a place to where I can learn and see what's going on. So 3 people minimum need to be in your life as part of your board, as part of your council, to be able to help you through this thing called life, because life is not meant to be lived alone. It is not meant to be lived alone. You need people. You need people pouring into you. You need people praying for you. You need people to invest in you.
Come on.
And you need people who believe in you.
So before we close out, I got a word game I like to play. I tell you a word, you tell me your thoughts on that word. You know what I'm saying? So
interesting.
Number 1 is family. What's your thoughts on family?
Foundation for life. God-given. And the most beautiful institution God ever put together.
I like that. Money. Let me give you an acronym before we start. Money. Momentarily owned, not externally yours. What's your ideal of money?
It is the end result of service rendered unto others.
I like.
That is a fair exchange for goods and services performed
good.
unto others.
That's good.
And it is the end result of that.
Mindset. What's your ideal on mindset?
It is the entry level to creation and action.
I like.
It is the starting point that leads to the creation, that leads to the action.
Motivation. What would you say about motivation?
Motivation is a needed emotion. Is a joyful, aggressive emotion to fuel what you are most engaged in. And maybe I'm missing some words there. But
I see what you're saying though.
Yeah, it's a temporary emotion to want to pursue a set objective within a given amount of time. And I only say that because motivation is not I'm not gonna say it's not sustainable, but it's not long term. Motivation can't come in spurts.
All right, so time, but it's 3 words I want to add with time. Time. Spend it, waste it, invest it. What you think about time?
Time is the greatest resource we have. It's the only one that can't be replaced. Everything else you just mentioned can be replaced. Time is the one thing. Like this time, it is 10:53 on March 22 a.m. Central Standard Time. This will never exist again. This moment that we're having right now will never exist again. We can't replace this.
Come on.
Right?
Come on.
Time is the greatest resource God has given us.
And that's why I always say, like, every day you can either spend your time somewhere that make you get to where you want to go. You can either waste your time on people, places, and things, or you can invest your time. It's people when I really started to look at time, like somebody told me something. They said, well, what if I gave you $86,400 a day? Would you spend it all? You gonna get it for the next 20 years, you get that amount of money every day. What would you do with that $400 a day? What would you do with it? And most people say, well, I'm gonna try to spend all of it. I said, well, we got 86,400 seconds a day. How you spending it? You know, that's what's important for people to understand, like where we going. Leadership. What's your thoughts on leadership?
It is it's a profound action that unifies a group or an organization.
Come on.
To a positive end.
So it has to be a positive end.
I mean, you can lead. Well, leadership. Yeah, I guess leadership can go in the wrong, because I mean, we've seen David Koresh was a leader. Joseph Stalin was a leader. You know, so
Bin Laden.
Yeah. So, but it's the act of leading people towards a cause.
Okay.
Of the person's choosing.
Okay.
And the followers.
Okay. It's gonna be followers. So when you look at your brand right now, how do you want people to perceive your brand? Like, describe to me 3 words you want people to walk away. Like, my brand is Why Now Is Your Time. So I want people to say life, brand, legacy. What that means is I want them to design their life, create their brand, and I want them to lead their legacy through their own information and products. So when you see Why Now Is Your Time, you know that's all about life, brand, legacy. So what is it about your brand, those 3 words that you want to leave people with?
That's an interesting question, and obviously, for those of you who don't know, he's actually selling me right now, because I do need to define this better, because I have recreated myself over the past couple of months.
Okay.
Let's just say coming out of the end of 2022 into 2023,
Okay.
I'm leaning more obviously into working with the youth, working with teens, and being an advocate for young men. And so that part of me has not been rebranded.
Okay.
But I will say that the 3 words I live by every day is gratitude, service, and impact. That's the 3 words to where I say, you talk about those 86,000. Every action I do needs to involve 1, 2, or all 3 of those words.
I like that.
Otherwise, what am I doing right now? Like right now, we're engaging in all 3.
Yes.
Right. When I get into my car and I drive somewhere, you know, and I sit down to eat somewhere, am I representing some of those? Because see, the first 2 is what brings the impact.
Ooh, come on.
Service and gratitude. It has to be my foundation. Service and gratitude has to be my foundation. I know some people say, well, what about love? Well, gratitude is an act of love.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, and God is love, and we're built in love. So,
come on.
You know, and that word has been sort of messed around with in so many different ways that I like to focus obviously on service, gratitude, and impact. So that would be the 3 words that I want people to take away when I walk away, that they feel those 3 things.
All right. So now I flip the question. So I let people ask me questions. Any questions you want to ask me? You know what I'm saying? I always try to leave that floor open. Be like, okay, what did you think you might want to ask me?
I would say, so we're going into the 3rd quarter of 2023, and you have an amazing studio. Looks like you have a great business model going. What would be, if this year went exactly like you wanted to, or I'm talking like every ball bounced back the same way.
Come on.
That J at the end of that buzzer beater J drops every time you're in the game and you're called to make that shot. What would the end of the year look like for Why Now Is Your Time? What would the business look like at the end of the year, December 31st of 2023?
We launching our academy, so I will have 50 students in that academy. The academy is 8 months long. It's an 8-month academy. It's $11,000, and we'll have 50 people in there. But I'm guaranteeing after 8 months, if they follow every test and they pass every quiz, that on the 9th month they should be making $10K a month with their brand, or I give them their money back. That's how confident I am in what I do. My membership site, people have been asking me to start it. I will probably have about 300 to 500 people paying $77 a month inside of my membership site. And I have the rest of my digital courses finished, because I have a course called Going Real Crazy. You know what I'm saying? So just making reels. So it's like, just going reels crazy. I have another course. I have my podcast courses already out right now. I probably sell about another 300 or 400 of them, you know. And then my podcast mentorship, if that go right, I probably had 100 people in there. It's $2,500. So, but I get to watch them build their podcast out for a whole year, and I get to tell them what they need to do step by step. And that's pretty, to me, and what made me want to start it, because people was asking me, man, I need your advice. Man, what equipment I need? They asking me all these, and I'm like, man, my wife said, if they asking, build a product for it. And so right now, we got a lot of people interested. I'm on the last bring service. So, and at the end of the day, I'm all about reverse engineering your financial goals. So it'll be me making over $1 million this year. I'm always about that. People scared to talk about money though. For some reason, I don't know. It's just like, but if you believe in yourself and your goals, like these big corporations making billions, like why would you be afraid to ask? Even like when you're doing your speaking engagement, I mean, your price is your price. It's 5,000, 10, 20, 30. It matters whether if it's ET, whether if it's whoever, just a normal person. You're taking your time and energy pointing to people. So my thing was, I used to be scared to ask for the money. At this point, people want to pay me the money. I don't got to ask no more, because they're like, man, you got the knowledge. So end of the year, I say my classes will be filled, and we made over $1 million this year.
I like that. Grossing $1 million. And for those of you listening out there, yes, get out of the poverty mindset.
Yes.
The poverty mindset will keep you broke forever. I'm dealing with some of that right now. And like you said, when you lean in, now when you throw a price out there, you need to make sure and deliver.
Yes.
That's the thing. But that's a poverty mindset. That's ghetto trailer park, just really just a mindset that I don't deserve.
But think about this. If you pay me $11,000, and I'm telling you now, I'm going to be monitoring you for 8 months. There's steps you got to take. You got to quiz, and I'm giving you the money back. Think about that. So you going 8 months hard. I mean, I'm watching your brand being built in 8 months. And if you, month number 9, if you don't feel satisfied, and I'm not talking about like, I need my money to help me pay my bills back. I'm talking about if we didn't crush your goals, man, you can have that money back. It ain't that serious.
Well, what it really comes down to is the fact that you're confident in what you're presenting. Mm-hmm. And if they, and really and truly, if you really want to break it down, like people spend more on less for dumb stuff all the time.
They do.
You cut out a few things here and there. Like, I have a challenge with some of my class. I'm just like, hey, when you go sit down at a restaurant, you don't need that. You don't need that big old meal or whatever. Tell them to tell them when you sit down, hey, bring me half out and box the other half up. Get a 2 for 1. And those little things will help you save money. If you, you're going out with your spouse, what I'm saying? You're going somewhere and like, hey, let's go sit down this spot. Find a couple of dishes where both of you like and split it. Instead of spending $70, you spend $32. I'm just saying, these little things like this
life hacks.
These will keep more money in your pocket.
That's true.
So that you can invest in yourself, in your children. Like getting them involved in activities and things of that nature. Like, I'm so tired of the just making it mentality.
Oh man, come on.
Let's stop that. Right? You don't serve a God of just good enough. I believe it says abundance. Right? I will press down, shake it, of overflow of blessings when you bless enough people.
Yes.
Come on now, what are we doing? Like, let's get in the game. And yes, money is part of it. Because you know what you'll do? Let's just say you're like one of those really loving people. You're going to give more to the church.
Yep.
You're going to give more to the community.
Come on.
You're going to give more to the athletic department at your schools.
Come on.
You're going to invest in other people more. That young man who wants to start that lemonade stand, you be like, you know what? I got you. How much you need?
Come on.
When people come and they're having those fundraisers and people are going on mission trips or people are selling stuff to be able to gain money for their sports team. And it's just like, hey, here's 100. Just give me whatever and go give it to somebody else. I do that with the Girl Scouts all the time. I'm like, I don't need no more Girl Scout cookies. Here's 20, 40.
Yep.
dollars, go, give it to the next person who has young kids at home.
Yes.
Like, give them an extra one. So I say, here, you bought 3. Here's the 4th. A man bought 4 or 5 of them and said we can just give them out.
Come on.
That's the kind of stuff you do, right? And when you do that kind of stuff, shockingly enough, you're blessed with more, because what are you telling? You're telling your creator, I have more than enough. I'm willing to give this to your people to be able to make the world a better place. Again, God's like, you know what? Lord sure is putting in a lot over there. How about we give him some more? How about we give him some more so he can go ahead and spread more money around?
Yes. And I think and I tell people that all the time. I'm like, man, God said, give you good measure, pressed down, shaking together, and run it over. Should he give it to your bosom, which means you yourself. So the problem is a closed hand can't give anything, but also a closed hand can't receive anything. So as long as that hand open, you got to give to receive. I'm just saying, maybe I ain't saying nothing.
I mean, think about it. When you pray and you're looking to receive the blessings, what do you do?
That's what I'm saying.
Eyes closed, but you're here. This is where you are. You're in a receiving state. Like,
Yes.
God, share with me what you want me to have. Share with me the message you want me to have. Share with me what you want my next move to be. Shine a light on the ways you want me to do. You know why? Because your ways are the higher ways.
Come on.
That's what it is, right? Get out of your head. There needs to be goals that are beyond you. That's beyond your life. Like you just said, you said legacy. A lot of the people who are listening aren't thinking about legacy. They're thinking about tomorrow.
Come on.
Instead of thinking about, hey, what am I called to do? Where am I going to contribute to the fact that the world is better because I was here?
Ooh, come on.
Because I was here. What did I leave? What did I provide? And not everyone's going to write a book or whatever. Let's just say you're just a good dad.
Yes.
But guess what? You produce the next Bob Johnson. You produce the next, star ball player. You produce the next major person who's going to take the mantle to another level. Because see, we never get the full idea of who poured into Malcolm X, who poured into all of these other guys. You don't know that old man he went sat down on that porch and talked that wisdom with. We don't know who that guy is. Some of them we do, but many of them we don't. There's a lot of people who don't get credit in history. Who was the one who, made Napoleon a great leader? What I'm saying? Who was the one who was given the game? The Trojan army, the Roman army, those African tribes. Like, who was that old sage who we don't know his name, who poured in to these men, right? Are you going to be that guy? Are you going to be the woman who tells these young ladies, like, hey, pull that dress down to not show all of these extra things, to not get tatted up by the age of 18?
Come on.
Right? Are we going to be the ones who are going to restore some order?
Come on.
Who are going to bring back the traditional values that our great grandparents had? Are we going to do that? Where we dressed modestly, right? And where we had discipline sexually? Are we going to be the ones who are going to start that? Yes, I know this thing needs to crash and burn because it's already, the building is over. But you know what? Are we going to build another one? Or are we going to empower the young boys and girls to build the other one when we're gone?
And that starts with your mindset. Other than that, anything else?
Hey, man.
You drop so many gems. I love it.
And just trying to do good unto the people, man. I'm just fired up because I want to see people win. Yeah. But I want to see people work. Right. And if you're willing, like you just said about your $11,000 program, 8 months, that's an investment. It's an investment bigger than money. And actually the money is the least of that, but that's a whole nother podcast for another day. That investment of that 8 months and what they'll be doing off time when they're not with you. Yes. It's where the investment is, and which is where you're confident in with that. So when it comes to that, I would just say, love your family, create a community, and stay stay loving, stay grounded. We dropped a lot today, and we've poured some virtue out. So hopefully if somebody walks away from this and they're blessed, and you all can reach out to me. I am available.
Yes, I'm gonna have all his description information below. You can, with his websites, links, catch up with him, man. And remember, listen, this is why now is your time. Go out and design the life you want, create the brand that you deserve. But most importantly, leave your legacy with your own information and products. We'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.